Welcome to the Leading Conversations podcast, sponsored by the Excel Leadership Network. On each episode, JD Pairing will have conversations with church planting pastors and leaders from around the country. You can learn more about how to connect with Excel at the end of this podcast. Let's join JD now and listen in on this leading conversation.
Welcome to another one of our leading conversations. Today, we are privileged, excited, thrilled to have the great and powerful Jim Kennon from Arizona with us, from Arizona by way of Ohio State, the Ohio State University.
Buckeyes.
Hey, Jim, thanks for being with us today.
JD, it's great to be with you today as well.
And you are in Sun City West right now.
Yeah, Sun City West on the west side of the valley in Phoenix, Arizona.
You're the youngest person in Sun City West, I hear. Is that
used to be, but no longer?
Hey, we'll get into that. But hey, let's just start with your story. Tell us about growing up, how you came to Christ.
Sure. I love to share my testimony. I was not raised in a Christian family at all. I was raised, though, in a wonderful family. My mom and dad are still alive, amazing people, a loving family, a moral family, a good family. But Jesus wasn't in the picture. What was basketball. My dad was a basketball coach, and that was our life. It was our existence. When I was in the seventh grade, my dad moved our family to Cookeville, Tennessee. He became an assistant basketball coach at Tennessee Tech University. And in that move, I became friends with the son of the pastor of the First Baptist Church at Cookeville, Tennessee. So Paul Capps became my best friend. Paul and I would hang out together, and he started taking me to Sunday school, started taking me to the youth group on Wednesday nights. Eventually, I started going to worship. And then in the spring of 1970, the church had a week-long revival meeting. And on a Monday night, I went to church by myself. For the life of me, I cannot figure out why a seventh grade boy went to church by himself, sat there on the first night of the revival meeting, and the preacher gave an invitation. The choir started singing. I'm sure they were doing Just As I Am. And he called people forward, and I fought God fiercely that night. The idea of giving my life to the Lord scared me to death. And that choir kept singing, and they wouldn't stop. And I'm standing there shaking all over, and I was crying, and I fought with God. And at some point, I surrendered and stepped into the aisle and walked forward, and it was amazingly instant peace flooded my heart and my soul. Went forward, gave my life to Jesus. And if my story ended there, that would be great. But the cool part is the next night, my sister Diane came to the revival meeting with me. Invitation was given, Just As I Am, and my sister went forward and gave her life to Jesus. On Wednesday night, I think my mom and dad were wondering what the heck has happened with our kids, so they came to the revival meeting. Invitation was given, choir singing Just As I Am, and my mom and dad gave their life to Jesus on Wednesday night.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was amazing. And in that church, the following weekend then was baptism for those that had given their lives to Christ. So me and my sister and my mom and dad were all baptized together on a Sunday night at the First Baptist Church, Cookeville, Tennessee.
That's an incredible story. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
I love to tell that story. For me, that it's Joshua 24 for me, but for as me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And years that followed, then my youngest sister and my youngest brother have given their lives to Christ as well. So I'm very thankful for that. Just so grateful.
That's incredible. That's amazing. Wonderful. So talk about ministry. I mean, you played basketball all the way up, but how did ministry happen?
I had the world's greatest job the summer of between my junior and senior year at the Ohio State University, I worked for the Ohio Department of Transportation, and I counted road signs, if you can believe it, your tax dollars at work. And me and another guy, college student, went out for 2 months and we inventoried road signs on the state highways of Ohio. He quit after 2 months. So for the third month of the summer, I was by myself every day in this car on the back roads of Ohio. When you're by yourself every day, all day long, there's only two people to talk to. You talk to yourself and you talk to God. And that last month of the summer, God started talking back to me and began calling me into ministry, saying that he wanted me to be a pastor. And I totally rejected that idea. No way did I want to go into the ministry. And the reason why was I had had two pastors who were incredibly influential in my life. And for me, these two guys walked on water. They were amazing men. And I'm like, I'm not like them. And I kept telling God, no, I'm not good enough. No, I'm not good enough. And for the whole month of August, every day, God just hammered on me. I hated it. It was horrible. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And I'm not one of these people that hear God's voice all the time. But I was in the car one afternoon and God said to me, I said, I'm not good enough. And I heard God say, tell me something I don't already know. And then he said this to me. He said, if you'll trust me, I will make you into the person that you need to be a pastor. So I said, all right, let's do it. And I made the decision right there on the back roads of Ohio, all by myself in a car. I said yes to God for ministry. So
That's another story. So that's why you are always counting road signs when you're in the car with.
that's right. Hey, JD, when we did these road signs, there were 32 pieces of information that we had to inventory on each road sign. Who would have thought?
32?
Yes.
Oh, so I get it. It's like ministry might be a really tough job, but it's got to be better than counting road signs.
It's way better than counting road signs sometimes.
So how did you step into pursuing that call?
Just made the decision to go to seminary out in Berkeley, California, and started my education that way. And God just has kept us going for 42 years now.
So Berkeley, California, talk about that that graduate school, that seminary. Was it good?
It was an awesome experience. Besides the education, which is like whatever, it was the community that was so powerful and the friendships that were made. And we still have those friends over the years. That was incredible. The relationship was what it was all about.
And then I know one of your first ministry positions, you pretty much stayed there in the Bay Area, right?
Yeah, I'd gone over to the Community Baptist Church in San Mateo, California, just a cool church. It was a Chinese American church. My wife's Chinese. She loved it there. And those folks were amazing to us. I was there as a student intern. And after 2 months, the senior pastor quit. And I was invited to stay as the interim pastor. They tried to find somebody else to lead the church and couldn't. And finally, they said, we'll take Jim. And I spent 8 great years doing ministry there. And it was incredible. It was a wonderful first church experience.
Well, you were in San Mateo for 8 years.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that long. And then I think you headed east, right?
Yeah, we wanted to get back east where my family was. I didn't know God would take us this far east, but we went out to Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia. That was an amazing place to raise our 2 kids. It was just a great place for them, the schools and the community. And we spent 15 years at Kennett Square. Saw God do some wonderful things there. And then we took a call to go back to California, Fowler, California. I'll say this, that was my hardest church, probably the worst fit. But of the churches I was in, God did amazing things there in spite of me not fitting very well. And it was a pretty amazing 8 years in Fowler.
So you're in these established churches. How did you just like get into church planting? What happened there?
Now, this guy sent me a text message out of nowhere when I was having breakfast at Denny's that said, "Hey, Jim, are you interested in planting a church?" The guy happened to be you, and that text changed my life. I've always looked at this thing. I spent my first 3 churches in what were called turnaround churches. And while I loved it, it was hard, super hard ministry where we had dysfunctional churches and just slugged it out, worked on it. And by God's grace, those churches turned around, became healthy, and grew, which was awesome. But it really took its toll on me to the point where one day I stepped out of pastoral leadership. I was empty. Spent a couple of years doing other ministry, and that's when you invited me to consider being a church planter. And I've always felt, for me, planting this church has been God's way of saying, "Jim, thank you for those 30-something years of just hard ministry. Here's a church plant. Enjoy your last church." And Inspire has been an amazingly fun church to lead. It has been trouble-free, just watching victory after victory. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. We're enjoying this a lot.
That's great to hear. I remember that. I remember you were doing some other stuff, and I don't know exactly what, but just at some point it just kind of hit me. Why doesn't Jim plant a church? And I think that was one of those little promptings of God. So I sent you that text. I don't text that to everybody. I don't. I'm somewhat careful of who I say, "Hey, you ought to plant a church," because I know the difficulties there. But you started considering it, and then there was this opportunity of a church there in Palm West wanted to help start a church because somebody had helped start them. And yeah, I think we just kind of introduced you. How did that work?
Yeah, well, like you said, Palm West Community Church here in Sun City West wanted to start a church. Their parent church is over in Sun City. So we had Bellevue Heights and then Palm West, and they wanted to start a church. And so I think they asked you guys for help in finding leadership.
I think they had Bellevue Heights in Sun City had planted Palm West, and it had been 20 years, and they decided to have a little get together to celebrate. And at that, I think it might have been the pastor at Palm West,
Bruce Schipple.
Bruce Schipple. I think Bruce said, "It's been 20 years. Why don't we do this again?"
Yep.
Boy, what caused you to go to a age restricted 55 and older, because you were probably 29 at the time, to step into a community like that? What was that?
Well, Brian Hitch and I co-planted
Right, yeah.
Inspire, and our original goal was to have a multi-generational church, blah, blah, blah. And so we were outside of our community up in Vistancia, outside this area. And we love to tell the story. We started with 125 people, and we successfully grew it to 25 in 1 year.
That's remarkable, Jim. That's good.
We were very good at what we did. And that's when we realized we were in huge trouble. And we went back to Palm West with Pastor Bruce Schipple, literally to ask them for $60,000 so we could lease a place. And Bruce said, "Why don't you just use our facility?" And so we moved into their fellowship hall and began worshiping on Saturdays. And God just took that, and we found our identity here in Sun City West with retiring baby boomers. Saturday worship was brilliant. And our church just blossomed when we moved into Sun City West, into Palm West. Spent 1 year there in mom and dad's basement, if you will. And after a year, mom and dad said, it's been great having you here. It's time to go. So we moved out into the foundation here in Sun City West, and it's just been fantastic.
How's it going now?
We're doing well. We're approaching capacity on our Saturday service in terms of the size of our room. We can only seat about 140 people. And we started a Sunday service this year, and that group has become a church now. So it's pretty exciting.
Hey, what are one or two ideas about what it's like to minister to an older crowd?
Oh,
what are some things we need to know about that?
Yeah, JD, great question. Everybody plants churches for young people. And I remember when we started Inspire, we got a lot of looks from other people. We're like, are you guys crazy? There's a sense of urgency when you're doing ministry with people that are 60, 70, 80 years old. And I just want to tell you, there's nothing like baptizing somebody who's in their 80s. Because the bottom line is we're running out of time. And it's great to baptize a 13-year-old kid. That's awesome. When you baptize somebody who's 85, you know that they're really close to meeting Jesus. So there's a sense of urgency to our ministry that I love. The second thing is we get all these experienced church people that do move into Sun City West. And, so like on our worship team, our drummers, our guitarists, everybody, they've been doing it for 30, 40 years. They're really good. And I've noticed we'll bring in young preachers to speak at Inspire, and they're like really surprised at the quality of our worship team. I don't know what they were expecting, but our folks are really good. They've been doing it for a long time. So we have folks in our church with a ton of experience and talent. They've got resources, they have time. It's a lot of fun. And you know what, JD? We don't have to mess with children or youth ministry. I'm kidding.
Well, that's true though, right?
Well, it does simplify life. It really does.
Hey, what would you say to somebody who's in ministry in their 50s or 60s or something? They're thinking, I'm too old to plant a church.
We are absolutely proof that that's not true. You do have to understand, and this is where Brian and I learned our lesson the hard way. We thought at the age of 58, we could start a church and attract all these young families. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you tend to attract people closer to your age. And I would say we need to embrace the idea of seniors ministry and seniors church. Like I said, somebody who's 80 and doesn't know Jesus, they need to meet him. And what better place to do it than a church filled with people who are seniors and love Christ and reach out to their friends and tell them about Jesus. So if you're in your 50s, kick around the crazy thought that maybe God wants you to plant a church of seniors.
Well, there are so many in the baby boom generation, and I think the next generation's creeping up there as well, right?
Yep.
But so many in the baby boom generation who are like, okay, I've looked for success, and maybe I found that from a world standpoint, but there's some emptiness to that now, and I can only play so much pickleball and golf, and
Yep.
The kids are older, they're out of the house. What do I do? And like you said, that sense of urgency. So yeah, I would encourage you to, hey, look, God's probably not finished with you yet. Hey, let me ask you this. Pardon me?
That's for sure. God is not done with you yet.
Christian Community Credit Union is America's leader in biblical banking solutions. As a trusted ministry partner of Excel Leadership Network, they are dedicated to serving ministries in all life stages of growth. Whether you're planting a new church or expanding, Christian Community Credit Union will come alongside your ministry to help you grow so you can serve more. They offer low-rate ministry loans as well as products to maximize your ministry's money, including high-interest checking, savings, and CDs. Take the next step and learn more at mycccu.com/excel. That's mycccu.com/excel. Membership eligibility is required.
Hey, give us a couple leadership tips. You've been doing this for a while. For leaders, what would you say?
I had a breakthrough moment about my 13th year of ministry. It hit me one afternoon. I was sitting in my office, and I realized for 13 years, my whole goal had been to win people's approval. And I was leading the church in such a way that I always wanted everybody to like what I was doing. And that afternoon, again, God spoke to my heart in a very powerful way to quit leading for approval. And I came up with a phrase that a lot of people misunderstand, and I don't mean it the way they think. God taught me the phrase, I don't care anymore. And I quit caring what people thought. I quit caring about their opinions. And that was the most freeing moment of leadership for me. And I've tried to keep that going, that I'm just going to do what God wants us to do and not worry about what other people think. Do I still worry about it? Yeah. But I try not to let it control my leadership. So that's been one big thing, JD.
Yeah, I know you've shared that with me before, and I appreciate that about you, Jim. Not that you don't care, but I've heard you say sometimes, this is happening, and I don't care about the approval. I just care about what God
Yeah.
wants. Give us one more. You got one more in you?
Yeah. Again, it came from this wise man named JD, who told us before we planted Inspire, he said, here's 2 words for you: smile and be flexible. I guess that's 3 words: smile and flexible. And I said, can you explain that? And he said, yeah, everything you plan to do is going to go wrong. So teach your people to smile no matter what happens. And secondly, be flexible. JD, that's been gold for us. We have taught our people over and over, smile and flexible. And you could come to Inspire this weekend and stand before our church and say, what are your 2 words? And 100 people would go, smile and flexible. That has been gold for our ministry, is just to help people embrace being flexible. So for that, I thank you.
I don't think that was me. Was it me?
Yeah, you always say you don't remember it. It was you. I picked you up at the airport. We were 2 weeks from launching, and I was desperate. I said, tell me what I need to know. And you said, just tell your team to be flexible and to smile.
Okay, good. I need to write that down.
It was brilliant. Write a book about it.
I need to write it down. That's pretty good stuff. Hey, I want to end with this. Tell us, I know you were an athlete in basketball, but at the Ohio State University, you were a star in a particular sport that most people don't know about. Talk a little bit about that.
Funny you ask. Be right back.
Okay.
Here we go. Here's my epee from Ohio State. I lettered in fencing as a Buckeye. I fenced epee. And for anybody watching this, here's the lesson that my coach.
This is only audio. So
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. That's hilarious.
It could be play-by-play.
In my hands is my epee from Ohio State. I fenced at Ohio State. And here's the lesson my coach told me that I would share with everybody. He taught me never stop doing what's working. And he said, if it's working in fencing, don't stop doing it. Because there was one time in a meet, I got up 4-0 on my opponent, thought I was everything, and started doing something different. And he called timeout and chewed me out. And he said, Kennon, never stop doing what's working. So, folks, if you're leading a church and it's working, don't stop doing it.
I want to end with that. I got a bunch of questions about how you got into fencing, but that'll be another time. That's just a great word. Well, hey, Jim, thanks for everything. Thanks for your friendship. Thank you for your just example of, hey, we're going to go do this and doing something different, but also pivoting. You've had you had to pivot from outside Sun City back in the church, your own place, COVID, which I can only imagine what that was like in a 55 and older, but things are going really well. Thanks for that. Keep it up. God bless.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, JD.
Thanks for joining the Leading Conversations podcast. We hope that you found it both helpful and encouraging. At Excel Leadership Network, our focus is on the church planter rather than the church. If you'd like to find out more about us, visit our webpage at excelnetwork.org. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. See you next time with another Leading Conversation.